Welcome to Africantales HQ. Once upon a time, in a village hidden between great mountains and deep rivers, there lived a man named Obade. He was tall, strong, and carried himself like a king, though he was no royalty. Obade was a proud man, too proud to listen, too proud to care. He treated people poorly, looking down on them as if he were better than everyone else. His arrogance was a shadow that loomed over the entire village. Obade's wife, Nkem, was the opposite. She was kind-hearted, gentle, and full of love. She respected people, helped the sick, and cared for the old. But no matter how kind she was, Obade never treated her well. To him, kindness was weakness. One fateful night, after many years of waiting, Nkem gave birth to twin girls. But when Obade saw them, his face twisted in horror. The babies were conjoined, two bodies joined at the waist, sharing one heart. The midwives whispered and stared, backing away in fear, while Obade's hands curled into a fist. "What is this abomination?" he shouted, his voice like thunder. "This is a curse. No child of mine shall look like this." Nkem, weak from childbirth, held her babies close. "They are beautiful," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They are our daughters." "No!" Obade roared. "This is your doing. You have brought shame to my name." From that moment, Obade refused to acknowledge the twins. He ignored their cries, never held them, and blamed Nkem for everything. When villagers came to visit, he hid the babies away like a terrible secret. One evening, as the moon hung low and the wind whispered through the trees, Obade made up his mind he would get rid of them. Obade had heard rumors of a man from the dark forest, a flesh eater who bought strange things. He decided to sell the twins for a large sum of money. When he told Nkem his plan, she fell to her knees, clutching the hem of his robe. "Please, Obade, don't do this. They are our children," she wept, her tears soaking the ground. "They are a disgrace," Obade spat, his eyes burning with cold fury. "If you say another word, I will tell the whole village they are not mine and throw you out." Nkem's heart shattered. She had no power to fight him. She prayed for a miracle, but no miracle came, only darkness. The night before Obade was to make the sale, Nkem sneaked away to see her childhood friend, Ifoma. In the dead of the night, under the ancient baobab tree, she poured out her heart, revealing Obade's wicked plan. "We must save them," Ifoma whispered, gripping Nkem's trembling hands. "I know someone." The next morning, as the sun peeked over the hills, a stranger arrived at Obade's home. He wore fine robes and carried a heavy bag of gold. His eyes, sharp like a hawk's, gleamed with mystery. "I hear you have something to sell," the man said, his voice smooth like silk. "I will pay double what the flesh eater offers." Greedy and blinded by gold, Obade did not question the man's identity. He handed over the twins, his hands trembling with excitement as he counted the coins. As soon as the man took the babies, he disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. Obade did not know the man was sent by Ifoma. The twins were taken far away, hidden in the place Obade will never find them. Only Nkem knew where they were. The twins grew up in an orphanage far from the village. Though they had little, they had love, laughter, and each other. Nkem visited them in secret, bringing them gifts and whispering stories of their true mother. The girls, Ada and Amara, were bright, curious, and full of love. Many years passed. An NGO heard about the twins and decided to help. They funded their medical treatment, and after a long and delicate surgery, Ada and Amara were separated. The sisters flourished. They were brilliant and strong, outshining every child in their school. Soon, they became known across the land. Back in the village, Obade had grown old and bitter. His wealth had disappeared. His so-called friends had abandoned him, and his pride had turned to dust. He blamed Nkem for everything, making her life miserable. But Nkem, patient as ever, waited for the right moment. One day, the village held a grand festival to honor the brightest young minds. The king himself had invited two special guests, twin sisters who had overcome great odds. As Obade stood among the villagers, his heart popped when he saw the two girls step onto the stage. Their resemblance to Nkem was unmistakable. They were Ada and Amara, his daughters. The crowd erupted in cheers as the girls spoke of their journey, of the mother who had secretly watched over them, and of the friend who had saved them from a terrible fate. Then Nkem stepped forward, her eyes locking onto Obade's. "Obade," she said, her voice steady. "These are the daughters you sold." A heavy silence fell over the crowd. The truth hung in the air like a dark storm cloud, pressing down on everyone. Gasps of shock rippled through the villagers, followed by murmurs of disgust. Some shook their heads, unable to believe what they had just heard. Others turned their faces away, ashamed that such a man had lived among them. Obade's chest rose and fell rapidly. His knees buckled and he stumbled forward, his legs no longer able to hold the weight of his guilt. With a strangled cry, he collapsed onto the dusty ground, his hands trembling as he clutched his head. The mighty, prideful man who once towered over everyone now lay in the dirt, broken and defeated. "Forgive me," he whispered, but his voice was swallowed by the wind. No one answered, no one moved. Ada and Amara, the daughters he had discarded like mere objects, stood before him. Their eyes, once innocent and full of love, held only quiet pity. Not anger, not hatred, just an empty void where a daughter's love should have been. "We have lived without you," Amara added, her gaze cold, "and we will continue to live without you." Their words cut deeper than any knife. Obade gasped as if he had been struck, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked at them, desperate, searching for something, anything to hold on to. But there was nothing. He turned his eyes to his wife, the woman he had tormented for years, the woman he had blamed, ignored, and cast aside. She met his gaze, but there was no softness left in her, only a quiet strength that told him she had long since moved on. Tears welled in Obade's eyes. "Please," he croaked, reaching out with a shaking hand. "Please, my daughters, my wife, I was wrong." No one took his hand. The village chief stepped forward, his expression grim. "Leave, Obade. You have brought shame upon yourself and your family. You will find no home here." A murmur of agreement rose from the villagers. Obade's breath came in shallow gasps. His vision blurred with tears. The world around him felt like it was crumbling, but it was not the world that had changed, it was him. For the first time in his life, he saw himself for what he truly was, a hollow man consumed by his own pride and greed. Days turned into weeks, and Obade wandered like a ghost, shunned by all who knew him. He had sold his own blood for gold, and now he had nothing left, not even his own dignity. At night, he imagined his daughters as infants, crying for their mother. He saw their tiny hands reaching for him, begging for warmth. But he had turned his back on them, and now they had turned their backs on him. He tried to seek refuge in neighboring villages, but no one would take him in. Word of his betrayal had spread far and wide. Doors were shut in his face. Fires were dimmed when he passed. The once proud Obade, who had mocked the weak and scorned the poor, now begged for scraps like a stray dog. And when at last he died alone, forgotten and without a soul to mourn him, his name became a warning passed from one generation to the next. Pride can destroy, but love will always find a way.
The end. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, kindly share your thoughts by commenting, support me with the super thanks, like and subscribe. See you in my next video.